Hello, this is Kentucky State Representative Josh Calloway from the Josh Calloway Podcast. I just want to make this video to remind everybody of some things, as well as to give you my words directly, since how the media seems to like to think that they can say what I'm thinking or say what I mean, when if they would just go watch the video, they would hear exactly what I said. This is a fact. The truth is the truth. It stands alone. It doesn't have to be propped up. It just needs to be repeated. And what we find is when people are in opposition to the truth, and you speak the truth and remind people of the truth, repeat the truth, they push back against it. But that doesn't change the truth. The truth is that God created male and female. There's men and there are women. God assigns that before the child is ever born. When the child is conceived, the gender is determined by God, and it is that until they die, no matter what they do to their body. That's the truth. The truth is that God said that marriage is between a man and a woman for a lifetime. Now, just because somebody has broken that truth or doesn't believe any of that truth does not change the truth. That is exactly what God said. When you take a stand on the truth, there's always going to be opposition. But the truth is right, and the truth will prevail. And when the truth is on your side, you are always in a majority, because God is on your side.
Welcome to the Josh Calloway Podcast.
Once again, welcome to the podcast. This is Josh Calloway, State Representative of the 10th District of Kentucky, and I'm here tonight with my good friend, Mr. Aaron Wells.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing good. A little less death-thready than you, I guess, this week, huh?
Yeah, just a little bit less, I'm sure, just because some people maybe forgot your name and didn't get to add you in. But yeah, it's been an interesting week so far. A lot going on. Had some things happen last week, and my daughter was actually had a little accident, had to have some surgery. I had to have a root canal done this week, and worse than the root canal, I get to deal with the media this week. So I don't know which is worse, root canal, media, or maybe a kidney stone. I don't know. It all kind of ranks up there together.
At least they numb you up a little bit before the root canal. You know?
Exactly right. Yeah.
Probably not well, but enough.
Well, after a little while, the reading the news and the media numbs your mind pretty good too. So it kind of works as a sedative. It's a great way to go to sleep at night.
Right.
Is to try to read the news and see what's being said out there. And it's all the same. It's almost like a soap opera most of the time because they just say the same thing over and over and over and repeat the talking points that they're given, whether it be from the left or the right. And everybody just parrots the same thing. And one of the big networks, they like to say, we report, you decide. But they actually decide what they report and decide what they don't report. And before you know it, it almost seems like that they're all just working hand in hand together to tell you whatever they want you to hear.
Yeah, they should just say, we report, you fall asleep. That's pretty much how it is. Yeah.
Well, I know most of the time when we're recording these, it's usually late at night, and so we're a little bit tired anyway, and drinking coffee and trying to keep ourselves alert. But there's a lot that we're dealing with right now that is definitely keeps us alert. It keeps us on our toes and should keep us on our knees.
Yeah, that's right. Definitely prayer has been a great necessity. Well, it always is, but, especially in times of intense opposition, then prayer always has a way of reminding us of the peace that we have with God, which I think is a really great thing because he said, in the world you shall have tribulation. So
yeah.
That in the context there in John 14, but be of good cheer, I've overcome the world.
Right. And reminds me also of the verse that the Bible says, yea, and all that will live godly in Christ Jesus shall suffer persecution.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that at all to say that I'm godly. I'm just saying that if we are, that's what's going to happen.
If you live godly, that's what you do.
That's right.
Yeah.
And It's been an interesting week, as I said. There's been a lot that has happened, and I kind of want to walk through some of it and talk about it tonight, and just different things, different aspects of what has taken place. And many times I think that the media will try to express what they think you meant by what you said, instead of actually taking your words and just repeating your words. And one of the articles, or one of the videos that went out, actually took some video from the podcast, the last podcast that we did. And I like it that way, because even though they may be trying to frame me in a negative light by the way that they're doing it, it was my words, and so it couldn't be twisted in any way. They couldn't put their spin on it. All they could do is just say what I said or show what I said, and then people make up their mind as to what they believe based on what they're hearing.
One of the funniest things that I saw, in context of that, is there was someone who had tweeted about an article, and the article didn't show any of the videos or any of those things. And none of the tweets showed any of your words actually happening. But it was somebody tweeted about an article that was written about something that they said that you said, and then someone else tweeted about that tweet about that article and said, "This is unbelievable. I cannot believe that this is happening in Kentucky." And it's like, no, this is just happening on your Twitter right now. It's not happening in Kentucky,
Right. And this is actually what happened. So for some people may not actually know what happened, but last week we did a podcast. Actually, it was on Sunday, and we discussed an article that I have been reading and looking through and researching, that basically said that the trans mind, or the trans mindset, is mutating, meaning that it's spreading. And there's no question that what we are dealing with in these types of issues has become a social contagion. It's proven fact. If you look at right now, 20% of young people that are teenagers in their high school years identify in some way, shape, or form with the LGBTQAI plus community, and whatever else that they come up with to add with that. But that was not the case at all. And this has drastically changed in the last 4 to 5 years. And so that is a fact. It is mutating. We had a little trouble with the internet trying to get it uploaded. Video producer puts it out, places a comment in the description: the LGBTQAI plus community is a disease, and everybody focused on what was placed in the description, and didn't actually go look at what I said in the video.
Like lost their minds.
Oh, yes.
Like totally lost their minds.
Oh, yeah. It was almost humorous the way that it happened. I had to get a new cell phone, and I was without a cell phone in AT&T store for hours. I despise going in there. It never just happens quickly and smoothly. But I went in, had a great guy that was dealing with me. I'm getting the new phone. I'm updating it and getting a backup that I had saved onto it, and had to be at a dentist appointment. So I run there, 2.5 hours in the dentist office getting a root canal, and I come out and I'm getting all types of text and messages that are being sent to me. And I'm literally just trying to figure out, what are they even talking about? What is this about? But to be honest with you, when you look at a lot of what was said and a lot of what people put out there, it wasn't just that comment in the description. It was about what I believe as a whole, what you embrace as a whole. And there's a total disagreement on it. And that's just a fact. That's not something that I don't believe that is something that automatically creates or turns us into bigots because we disagree with what somebody else agrees with.
Well, and, they're looking for a reason to try to put pressure on you to cave in some kind of way. And it didn't matter to them that you didn't post the description on there. That doesn't matter. as long as they can associate it with you, then that's all that matters to them. You know, it doesn't matter that people who voted for Trump didn't show up at the January 6th, protest and then join the people that went into the Capitol. That doesn't matter. As long as they can associate us with Trump, then they'll call us insurrectionists. Right. And so it doesn't matter. They didn't say, oh, Josh Calloway has never said something like this before. He's never called the LGBTQAI. That's so exhausting just saying it. Yeah, their flag's exhausting. The whole thing's exhausting to me. But he's never said that they are a disease before. Maybe what happened here. But instead, it was like they saw this and saw an opportunity, and so they took it. Yeah. You know, and I think that the funny thing about it is that this is the type of language that they use all the time. Oh, yeah. Right. I mean, I think you posted pictures from the person who actually Target partnered with, right, who is like a trans Satanist, you know, a woman that claims that she's a man, and she's a Satanist who says that, Satan accepts all genders and all of these things, which I heard, a commentator saying today, oh, yeah, I totally believe that. Yeah, Satan definitely loves all that stuff. Oh, yeah. And the person that Target had partnered with, I guess, on their website, then they had something about heteronormativity as a plague. Yeah. You know, which is they kind of get around calling heterosexual people a plague by saying heteronormativity. Right. But that's what they really mean. We know exactly what that means. So this is their language all the time. And so it was like the biggest projection in the world, you know. Right. And it's amazing. They totally missed what I said. Right. The fact that I didn't say Target was selling those. I said this is the company that Target has partnered with. Right. But all of that, all of the truth is irrelevant. And this is what I have found to be fact. Is that people that despise or are against the truth, the only thing that they hate worse than somebody who speaks the truth, right, is somebody who doubles down on the truth and doesn't back up when they are put in a corner or when the pressure does come. And that has been my desire for my whole life. This is not something that I just woke up one day and said, wow, I think I'll take these beliefs and I'll embrace them and I'll talk about them. And that's not, these are things that are deep in my heart, right, that I was raised in church, and I'm thankful that I was. Right. But there came a day in my life when I had to choose what I was going to embrace to believe, and I used the Bible as the foundation upon what I believe, and it doesn't change. It doesn't change with science. Right. It doesn't change with new biology. It doesn't change with the winds that blow day in and day out. It is stable, and it actually brings about peace when you have something that is stable that you can build your life upon. Yeah, well, and, you know, the stability is an enemy of this community or this ideology as well, right? Stability of any form that is traditional is their enemy. Yeah. And so they want to fight against anything that is based on the Bible, that is based on any type of truth at all. It's not just a war against certain types of truth. It's a war against all truth, mainly because they live in a total fantasy world. You know, this is not a place where it is healthy for someone to go mentally. That's why they call it gender dysphoria. And I don't understand all the all of the sudden reversal from saying that gender dysphoria isn't a mental illness. Right. You know, where'd that come from? You know? Well, there you can go look at it, the studies that happen. It's still in the AMA, right? Yeah. Well, the American Psychiatric Association, they still hold to the fact that gender dysphoria is a mental health disorder. Right. There's different nuances and there's different ideas, different studies, and there have been a lot of things that have changed, and a lot of these largely recognized groups that have changed their position solely based not on science, not on history. Right. They have based it upon pressure. Right. They have received pressure
from people that believe certain ways. They have had people that have infiltrated those types of systems, and those people are pushing this ideology.
Right.
This is what they are doing. And so what I actually said is in the video. Right. People can go watch what I actually said. But this is what amazes me is the hypocrisy of people that they claim that they are the most tolerant group in the world. We're the most tolerant people that exist.
Right.
And
they'll tolerate you to death, literally.
Oh, yeah. Literally, just almost like Cain loved Abel to death, you know.
Right.
And I say that in jesting, but some of the stuff, and I very seldom say anything about it because it really doesn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't shake me. It doesn't bother me. The people that send me emails, that send me death threats, leave me voicemails with vulgarity on them, all types of cursing, sending me pornographic pictures of all different types of sexual interactions with men, women with women, bestiality, those types of things. That's how they respond to me speaking what I believe. That is what they have done. And I'll be honest with you, I do pretty good with it.
Right.
Until they come after my family.
Right, yeah.
And there's been a few people, you know, they want to drag my wife into it. And just as a husband, as a man, as an individual, that's the only place that really actually it does get to me. Right. And in the sense that I want to protect my family.
Right.
But the truth is the truth.
Yep.
They claim to be tolerant. They claim we love everybody. We embrace everybody, no matter what you believe, unless you don't believe what they believe.
Right, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, not only will we not tolerate you, but several people have used the word erasure. Like, you will be erased from humanity when this is all said and done.
Yeah.
Those are the types of people that talk about tolerance.
Right.
And that is the epitome of hypocrisy.
Yeah. Well, and part of it, too, is they live in this world that they think they have created in their own mind. They're existing in a body that they didn't make themselves, but they think they own it. You know, they are existing, walking around in a world that they think they can tell everybody what to do in, but you know, in a second or two, then the whole world could fly into pieces and they couldn't do anything about it. You know, they have this desire for control, and in these little echo chambers that they live in, they talk about erasure all the time. They talk about how everybody is wanting to wipe us off the face of the planet, how everybody is wanting to do away with our community. They hate our community. They hate everything about us, and they talk about it so much that it's like they can't wait for an opportunity to try to make it real. Just like every other thing in their life that is not real that they're trying to make real. So their made up gender identity is not real, but they want to make it real.
Right.
This is also the same thing, and what ticks me off the most is the way that they use children. It's not real what they are doing, so they're trying to make it real. So, for instance, they will sexualize them with pornographic images whenever they're in kindergarten. They will sexualize them with drag shows on PBS and on the TV shows that the children watch. Yeah. They will celebrate the drag queens for them. They will mess these children's minds up so much and give them gender dysphoria by indoctrination that is still described as a mental illness. And whenever these children are all torn to pieces and they can barely exist because their mind is so assaulted by all of their echo chamber garbage, then they will hold them up in front of our face and say, they're going to kill themselves if you don't do what we say.
Yeah.
That's called societal terrorism.
Exactly
what it is. And they're using our children to do it. That's what ticks me off the most, to be honest with you. The least that they can do is to allow children to grow up normally and have a chance of having their gender identity and their biological sex joined together like a normal person would be. But instead, if anybody stands up against them, tries to stand between a medical field that is ravenously desiring to perform surgeries on them, is jumping at the opportunity to give them hormone blockers or puberty blockers and hormone therapy. If anybody stands up, then they send out the wolves.
Right.
You know.
And we talked about this the other day, and so I go back and forth between the studies, the science, the biology, and also what we know to be right and what we know to be wrong.
Right.
Which a lot of times they try to take these studies and the science to try to prove what is right and what is wrong, whether it's aligned with biblical truth or not, right? So, but just thinking about there's some of their own studies, they tell us that when there is childhood onset gender dysphoria, that they have shown to have a high rate of natural resolution.
Right.
Up to 98% sometimes of children re-identifying with their biological sex during puberty. So what they call, number one, what they call dysphoria many times is just simple humanity.
Right.
It's a little boy that picks up a baby doll. I mean, literally. I mean, I'm not. This is not stuff being made up.
Right.
These are actual studies. This is stuff you can go find where actual people have went and testified on bills throughout the United States of America, and a parent literally said that there was a tutu in the floor, and the child at 18 months old kept crawling toward it. This is literally what the parents said.
Yeah.
And so the point is then in some of these studies,
now,
they tell us.
I have a question for you on this. So the child is crawling toward the tutu. Who makes the connection between the tutu and the child that changes their gender? Like, who sees that, and is it the child or is it the parent? Right? The parent sees the child moving toward the tutu.
Yeah.
The child doesn't even know that's a tutu.
Right.
Right. The child just sees something shiny or whatever. They don't know that's a tutu. So the person who has to transform the tutu crawling, the child crawling toward the tutu into a different gender is the person who knows what the tutu is.
There was a video of somebody mocking this that's taking their dog in to be neutered, and they bring this. It's crazy, and if we laugh sometimes at what is going on and the hypocrisy and all that's involved in it, but it is so sad, the deception. And this is nothing new. I have a lot of people that will send me emails and try to remind me of history. Like, this has been going on for thousands of years, and we've had drag queens for thousands of years, and people that were involved in changing their gender or homosexuality, and they try to
great heroes of history, by
because
the way.
they say many times they say I'm not educated, I'm uneducated, I need to stay in the woods, I don't have a clue what I'm talking about, things like that. But in the mid 1960s, and this study is used by a lot of professionals, the John Money gender reassignment controversy. There's a lot of, I encourage people to go look this up. Go do some reading on this. I don't always pull up every single piece of information that we have on this, but go look for yourself. Go look at what happened. This was a situation before all of this became prevalent in our society, of a set of twins, right? There was two boys, I believe, that were born, and they had a medical condition. And one of the boys, in the process at like 7 or 8 months old, I think it was 7 months old, they were doing circumcision on this child, and something went wrong, and they actually pretty much totally removed his genitals from his body. Is that not what happened?
Yeah, so basically, I'm reading an article from the BBC here. So they had a medical condition, and so they were given advice to go get a circumcision. They took them. One of them, they did something totally crazy, like used a cauterizing needle, and electrical equipment malfunctioned, and a surge had completely burned everything off, apparently. Yeah. So then the parents were, of course, distraught and didn't know what to do, and they were watching television and saw the psychologist, I believe, on the television, And so they said he was very charismatic. He seemed highly intelligent and very confident of what he was saying. So she wrote to him. Within a few weeks, she had taken Bruce to see him in Baltimore, and that's when he started the experiment, basically. This is more of like the BBC article is more of like a personal interaction thing.
Yeah.
But the mother said about the boy that the Dr. Money had turned into a girl. The mother said something. Go ahead.
I just wanted to let everybody know kind of what happened. So when they went to this doctor basically told the parents that the best thing that you could do for this child is go ahead and do a surgery, and then just transition him to a girl, right? And so they started that process when this child was like 8 months old. And I think the doctor had even said
17 months old.
17 months old.
Yeah.
I think the doctor had even said in the process of this that you pretty much have to start it between 2 and 3 years old, or at least by then, in order for it to work. But he said that gender was disconnected from biological sex, and basically that it can be nurtured, that it's not natural.
Yes.
And I think that was the study. So that's the process of what began to happen, right?
And yes, and it's important to realize that this was kind of one of the groundbreaking theories and processes that established a lot of the current beliefs about, gender transition and all of this stuff.
Yes.
Even though a lot of the same things that he said people don't say now, it was the thing that kind of got the ball rolling. And it's really interesting that the thing that started this all off, right, is a study from a guy who said that the environment is what would create the girl.
Yeah.
This is how this started. But the mother said that by the time Brenda reached puberty at 13, she was feeling suicidal.
And Brenda was
the one
Bruce.
That had been switched. Yes.
It was actually Bruce. It's actually a male.
Yes.
And they changed the name to Brenda, and they began to treat him
at 20 months
like a girl.
old, 21 months old, castration was performed. And then they had to make sure that everything was kept a secret. When they were 9 years old, then he published a paper saying that it had been a total success. Before puberty ever even happened, he's bouncing out of the picture pretty much because he probably knows what's about to happen.
Right.
I could see, this is the mother talking, I could see that Brenda wasn't happy as a girl, which is Bruce. She was very rebellious. She was very masculine. And this is with a lot of surgeries already having taken place. And I could not persuade her to do anything feminine. Brenda had almost no friends growing up. Everybody ridiculed her, called her cave woman. She was a very lonely girl. Faced with their daughter's sadness, Brenda's parents stopped taking her to see Dr. Money. So soon after they did the one thing Dr. Money had warned them against, they told her she had been born a boy.
Yeah.
Within weeks, Brenda had chosen to become David, tried to redo all this stuff. He couldn't have children, but he got married, and he was a stepfather. He had still been immortalized as John and Jane in medical and academic papers about gender reassignment.
Yeah.
Eventually what happened is both of them into their 30s committed suicide.
Yes. And that's what is so sad. This study that this doctor did and what he documented, one, is used in by a lot of professionals, psychiatric professionals, medical professionals in regard to this. Yeah. It's one of the first well-known documented studies of this taking place. There was a lot of effort that went into it in the process of it. And it was an utter failure.
Right.
And he was never publicly, by the medical field for the most part, was never shown as being the fraud that he was.
Right.
Come to find out, I think the parents said that he was actually molesting the children, doing things to the children, causing them to commit acts in front of him while he had them there. Just on things that are beyond belief almost that was going on. And it ends up that the brother ended up, I think, overdosing on drugs. And then David, who was Brenda, who started out as Bruce, he actually began going around talking about what was going on and what happened to him and how it affected him, and did his best to bring light to it. And then in the end, he ends up taking his own life. He is absolutely miserable because of what happened to him and what took place. And these are the types of things that people do not talk about. These are the things that people want to keep swept under the rug. And I'm going to tell you a couple reasons why. One is because this is the push in our society. Because it's something that they can push all the way down to our children. The second reason is this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And there have been hospitals. We have actual literature where hospitals have built their financial structure around moving forward with these types of procedures, with the puberty blockers, with the surgeries, and things of that nature. And people keep asking, again, why do we keep talking about this? It's because of what happened this week. Because when a simple little phrase is put out, people absolutely lose their mind because they cannot stand to be told the truth or to be challenged in what they believe.
That's exactly right. And it doesn't matter, again, that you didn't write it. It doesn't matter.
No.
They will use anything as a defense to hide the fact that they want to mutilate children. That's what they want to do. That is their desire, is to start them as early as possible. They will use any mistake, any error, anything that happens that might give them a window to go on the attack and protect the fact that behind the scenes, this is what they want to do. And I love all the things about, well, this isn't happening in Kentucky. Then who's performing the surgeries in Kentucky? That's what I want to know. If this isn't happening in Kentucky, how's it happening? Well, it's not magic.
Let me say a couple things about that. I'm glad you brought that up because I did want to talk about that because I have some specific people that constantly come back with that. This is not going on in Kentucky. This is not happening in Kentucky. Number one, that's not true. It has been going on. It can't go on right now because we passed Senate Bill 150 during session.
Legally.
The second thing is that we had a couple natural disasters that happened here in the state of Kentucky. But we had flooding that happened in eastern Kentucky, and we had the tornadoes that hit western Kentucky. A lot of devastation. Well, guess what happened? When that took place, we were able to come together because we had put money aside for catastrophes, for economic development. We had budgeted additional money just in case if something happened, we had a process that we could address it. Why in the world would we want to wait until children were becoming mutilated consistently and constantly before we did something about it?
And then it's also like we live in this, they want to talk all about the sovereignty of states, in this context. Like all of a sudden the borders of Kentucky become just this like impenetrable wall that you can't get through, when around everywhere else, then they're offering for surgeries to happen and they're legalizing it in Canada and Gavin Newsom and the president of the United States, the president of our state, he's the president of all the states, but he still is the president representing us. Then he is supporting these things and they want us to pretend like, oh, this is never going to happen here.
And then you have these groups inside of the LGBTQAI plus community that say that they don't promote that or they don't want to go that far. And that's fine and good. The problem is that there has been this push, this drive to not just accept people in our society, but select groups have a drive to be promoted. Wear our jersey when you go onto the hockey and you go onto the ice. Put our flag on your hockey stick, and if not, we will cancel you. Nobody can have a differing opinion. And they have been the vehicle that has driven this, that has brought this about and this push. And where's the end? Where's the end? At some point, where do we draw the line and say, well, that's too far? This is the thing, and I understand. I know what's going to happen. People are going to twist my words when I say this, but I'm going to tell you, there is no end to it.
That's right.
And where we end up, which will not be the end, but where this goes is it goes to children.
Yeah.
And barriers are removed for the protection of children when it comes to sexuality.
Right.
Because what we have done, you can't take your daughter and get her ear pierced without your permission.
Yeah.
She can't just go get it done.
Yeah.
But we have states that are saying you can come to our state, you can have your genitals or your chest removed, and we will be a protective state for you, and we'll make sure that your parents don't find out.
Yeah, that's right.
How do we not see what is going on here? How can people not look at that and say, something's wrong about this?
Yeah.
And if people say, well, I don't really want to go that far, well, then you've got to draw the line way back there somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
And this is, people talk about parental rights. Well,
Yeah.
you're removing parental rights. We have always drawn the line when it comes to parental rights at abuse.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is abuse.
Yeah. That's right. The other thing is that they all talk about gender affirming care, but for some reason, if you're in a Republican state or like Kentucky, then gender affirming care doesn't mean surgery here for some reason. It's like it's a magical thing that happens whenever they are debating on the floor there at in Frankfurt. Then gender affirming care doesn't mean surgery. It doesn't mean anything. If it's not reversible, then that's not what it means. It's just puberty blockers, just hormone therapy. But whenever you go anywhere else, then gender affirming care means get the surgery as soon as possible. As soon as the parents will let them do it, get the surgeries done because it'll help them later on or whatever. You can't change the definition of gender affirming care whenever the federal government's talking about it the same way that California and Washington are talking about it, but all of a sudden you don't want to do that in Kentucky.
Yeah.
It is a very transparent lie because they want to provide cover long enough to be able to get done what they want to accomplish.
And here's the thing, just there's been a lot of pushback against what's called conversion therapy. So it's counseling for a child that is leaning that direction or has went that direction with their thought process, and they call it conversion torture. That's what they say.
Just the therapy?
Yeah, so the other side does. And and this is the thing, is that if you are encouraging the child in this thought process that we know has the ability to end very bad for this child, we have studies and proof, that's torture. But if you if you push them in that direction, that's great. But if you talk to them and you counsel them in a different direction, then that's considered torture, is what they say. That is how vast and how wide the hypocrisy is in this. They literally do not. It's not about the child. It's about the agenda. And I understand. I understand what we're up against to some degree. That we know there's a force behind this. When you say that, I know people don't like it. But it's the truth. We know that is what is going on. But this is important. This is important to I believe to say and to make clear. This, in regard to this, when the statement was put out, and I'm having to respond to all of these people about that supposedly I had said that the community is a disease. This is a fact. It is a choice. It's a choice. It's a choice that people make. I know they don't like to hear that. I know people do not like to be told that. But these are life decisions, the lifestyles. Diseases are something many times that you can't help it. It happens to you. You catch it. You get it. It shows up.
You try to stay away, but you can't quite, which is how they, ironically, how they like to pretend the LGBTQIA still exhausting community becomes one of them. Is it just happens to them out of nowhere, And that's how they like to pretend, but that's not what it is. It's not a disease. It's not something that you you catch from somebody, like that. It's because, and that's what I believe, and I've never said that, and you've never said that as far as I know.
No, it spreads.
And you've been consistent
it's
about
the
this.
mindset that spreads, but these are decisions, they're choices that people make, and many times from a child standpoint, is that children are moldable. Right. This has been my point. This has been what I've been trying to say this whole year and in the past, but it's really come to light this year, is that children are moldable. They believe what they are told. They move in the direction that they are educated. 2 + 2 is 4. Say it again. 2 + 2 is 4. Say it again. We mold them with education. And now we are molding them with indoctrination.
Yeah. And it's like if you were to teach them 2 + 2 is 6. 2 + 2 is 6 over and over again. And then one day they have to apply actual math. It never works. And it's like this thing in their brain that
confusion.
Is absolutely unbearable. And they're not just doing this, teaching them this in an intellectual way. They are actually trying to form their body to the fact that 2 + 2 is 6. And then one day they wake up, like several detransitioners that have spoken out, and they realize that their choice was taken away from them.
Yes.
Their innocence was used. Their innocence, their time of innocence as a child was used as a vehicle to push an agenda.
Right.
In order to use them as a weapon against political opponents.
And I do believe that there will come a day, if this continues, and it continues to spread as a contagion the way that it is among children, and that mindset is pushed and driven, there will come a day that children will be adults, and they will look to the adults that raised them and say, why did you not tell me the truth?
Right.
It's already happening.
Yeah.
It's already taken place. And so that is what's going to happen, not to mention the way that it bends and twists our society.
Right.
So that's a fact. Regardless of what anybody says, I know what the Word of God teaches.
Right.
These are choices that people make. The second thing is, and you made the statement about the tuck bathing suit that we were, tuck-friendly bathing suit we were talking about in regard to Target. Oh, and by the way, the people actually speaking out there are making a difference.
Yeah.
We've seen that Target is already having to back up. They've had to have a special meeting, and they've
had to tuck their pride displays away back in the back.
They're tucking them in the back, right? So they're tuck friendly in the back, and they're saying they're doing this mostly in the South because for whatever reason it is, which is so demeaning to their customer.
Right.
But either way,
like we're a bunch of idiot rubes.
You brought this up, and you were saying about that. Why do they have to make a special one? If they're really women, then they should just be using the same one that women use, right?
Yeah.
Transgendered men do not become women, nor do transgendered women become men. There is no such thing.
No.
There's men and women. There's all, and even Bruce Jenner they become feminized men, or they become masculine women. They are counterfeits. They're impersonators of the sex with which that they identify, and that's where that's what causes their problematic future.
Yeah, and you even see with somebody like Dylan Mulvaney, who is like a caricature of what he thinks a woman is. I'm married to a woman. She does not act like that. There's no way that my wife would stand beside Dylan Mulvaney and I would say, oh yeah, he's totally a woman. Because it is like, it's like if somebody were to make a cartoon about a woman, and then they were also to, in the cartoon, they were to try to make fun of women. That's exactly what would be going on, is what Dylan Mulvaney does.
Yeah.
And then
it's a mockery.
Yes, it's exactly what it is. It's a mockery. And, I think maybe it was North Face came out with an ad too. And and all of these ads that are coming out now, all of these pride ads. It can't just be pride anymore. It's pride progress.
Can we play that? Do you know if we
Yes.
can play that ad?
Yeah, I think
I was thinking about this just because there's been so much feedback, and for those of you, there have been
please
many,
hurry. This is on
many
full screen,
people,
and I don't want to look at this for very long.
Yeah, there's been many people that have reached out to me that have said, we're with you, speak the truth, stand on the truth, don't back up from the truth. But there have been multiple people, because of some statements that we made, that there's actually been medical proof that has stood on this same ground for a long time.
Right.
Right. And this is what they have said, that I have it backwards, that I'm mentally ill. I'm the one that you're mentally ill. You're mentally disturbed. I had people say that they hope then that they could get me committed to a mental institute because I am a mentally ill individual because of what I'm saying. Just speaking the truth, saying what we're saying that has been accepted for thousands of years, that has been proven to continue to work.
Right.
When you have husbands and wives, men and women procreating, children are born, and that is what has made the world go round.
Right.
That is what has populated the earth. That all that works.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But here I am, a man that's been married to the same woman almost 25 years now, 5 children, 2 grandchildren on the way. Oh, and by the way, Linda Blackford made a statement that, why aren't you worried and doing anything about the fact that 1 in 5 Kentucky children lives in poverty? Well, why doesn't she come to Breckinridge County one day and walk to the Hope Academy that I direct and look at the young men 18 to 25 years old that we bring in there out of jail, that I bring in there maybe coming off of drugs. And I'm just saying this as a point.
And why doesn't she look at the coal jobs that Andy Beshear and Joe Biden have done away with, that have put those families in poverty? And why doesn't she look at the cities where people live in poverty, where they have all kinds of social issues, fatherless homes, motherless homes? Why doesn't she look at the people that are actually in poverty before she blames you for it?
They don't even know what we're doing. They don't even know, nor do they care.
They don't care.
They don't care that we've got young men in there that we're trying to help them get established, get stable, get a job, and then be able to be the dad to their children that they're supposed to be, work a job every day, be a solid taxpayer, not be a problem in society, all of those things. So we are doing that. That is exactly what we're doing. So that is going on, and we can simultaneously help our society in that regard and in that realm.
Help others,
while we are fighting against this direction, because this is not the direction that I want my children or my grandchildren, and I believe the majority of Kentuckians do not want to go this direction.
Yeah.
So anyway,
but we're the
mentally ill people.
We can without the government's help or intervention or funding, then a church or a community can start an academy that helps others.
Yes.
Without their intervention, but we're the mentally ill people.
I don't mind at all, I wouldn't encourage people at all. It'd be such a waste of time to go read all the comments and all the things that people have said, right? Off the wall, unbelievable stuff. That
Very mentally stable
They
people,
want to bring up. We are mentally ill. And I want to look at it sitting here. I'm a middle-aged man. You're headed that direction, right?
Yep.
Just work jobs, try to help people, live in the society, try to abide by the law, try to live upright around the people that we are, be good to our neighbors, all of those things, right? But we're mentally ill because of what we think. Now, can we roll this? Because this is what people say is not mentally ill that we were talking about the other day.
Hi, it's me, Patagonia, a real-life homosexual, and today I'm here with...
This is normal.
We are here to
Can you bring the camera back here, Kyle? Can you bring back to me for just a second?
With us. is.
This is
Wow,
abnormal.
This is
This is
We like
not
to call this
mentally
little
stable.
tour
Now
the
go back.
Summer of Pride.
This is what
tour
they say
has
is mentally
everything.
stable.
Hiking,
And this
community,
is-
art,
this is good.
Lesbians making
This
art.
is okay.
Last year, we gay saw
Come
shade
back
across
here.
the nation and
Look back
celebrated
this way.
Pride across
This
the
is
nation
not
with
okay.
hundreds of you.
This is what I
Across
don't
the
understand,
nation.
and I
This
get
year,
it. I'm not
back
the
again
smartest
with
person.
two
You
new
can
stops
kill that. That's about all I can handle of it.
Why?
That's North Face, by the way, people that are promoting that kind of stuff. And if you think that they are not trying to not just promote that lifestyle, but to draw children in by all the colors and all the looks, there's a reason why they can't put specific things on beer cans and on cigarette packages and labels, because they're not supposed to be able to market toward children.
Right.
But that is exactly what they are doing. They are trying their best to catch the eye of your kids. Okay? And I get it. I fully get it. That what I believe, where I stand, is a traditional, what people would call an old fogey way. And I'm by far not the smartest guy in the world. I'll admit that.
Yeah.
But if that is normal and I'm abnormal, I'll take being abnormal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. It looks so stressful, you know? Like, I don't know, how do you put on clown paint every single day? Like, that's gotta be absolutely miserable.
This is unreal.
To realize that every day that your identity is based on the makeup that you put on your face and the clothes that you put on. That has to be exhausting, not to be able to wake up in the morning and walk out into the world, and for you to be able to display the body that you were born with and to be able to do that in a healthy way. That has to be absolutely exhausting.
So a few things, right?
Yeah.
Where is the proof that gender-affirming care reduces suicides in so-called trans people, which that doesn't exist? There's male and female, and I'll continue to say that.
Right.
Where is the proof besides what people want to tell you on Twitter?
Yeah.
Where's it at? What child can assess what it would mean in the long run for them to do something to suppress their breast growth? What 9 to 11-year-old thinks about breastfeeding a baby someday? They don't think about those things. Yeah. If you were to talk to a 12-year-old child and say, okay, if you take these drugs, now you won't be able to have any kids. You'll not be able to have any children ever, but you'll be able to identify better with what you are thinking in your mind. What 12-year-old cares about that at that time?
Yeah.
This is abuse.
It is, yeah.
This is evil.
Well, and a lot of the things that happen to their body are produced by the hormones that their natural, body parts, their reproductive system produces.
Yeah.
Their reproductive system produces those hormones that help make all of these changes in their body. And you're going to tell me that something that comes out of a syringe that they made up in a lab is going to make them feel more like they're in their body? Are you serious? These are the people who have talked about for years the liberation of your sexual choices and all of these things. But the thing in your body, the reproductive system that actually produces all of those desires and helps to shape your body into what it is supposed to be, then you want to absolutely mutilate that. You want to absolutely destroy it.
Right.
You're destroying the humanity of those people.
And
that doesn't mean that they're not human. They are human beings. But they have done their best to medically destroy everything about them that they were naturally born
And
with.
this is the thing. I will take the truth over what Matt Jones thinks.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the truth over what he thinks. He can say whatever he wants to say.
I saw he called you out.
Yeah, he did. And I've always left that alone.
Yeah.
There are people that are influential throughout this state for different reasons and have a following. And that is not my interest. It's not my goal. My goal is to get the truth out.
Right.
He can say whatever he wants to say. he can think whatever he wants to think about me. I'll take sides with the truth.
Yeah.
As I said in the very beginning, when you side with the truth, you're always in the majority.
Right. Yeah.
And so I'll side with truth over anything that he thinks or says.
Well, and he tries to portray this. I used to listen to his sports radio show when I first moved back to Kentucky, you know, and just for Kentucky sports. Like
I'm going to pull up what he actually said, and I hate to even give it any credence, but just so people know what I'm talking about, I don't advise you to try to go. Well, don't waste your time on social media, but this is exactly what he said. Yeah. This kind of hatefulness, by which they didn't even read what I said. It's just a statement. Yeah. This kind of hatefulness by Calloway for Kentucky is awful and totally unnecessary. The extreme cruelty by an elected member of the Kentucky legislature is an embarrassment.
Yeah. Okay, so he tries to be this kind of, he's, first of all, like this giant fanboy for UK. You know? And he's made a career out of it. I mean, kudos to him, you know, made a website and a radio show and all that stuff is fine. But he likes to use his radio show as like a cudgel for conservative positions sometimes whenever he is, you know, worked up or upset, and he treats it like his little kingdom, which it is. He, you know, it's his radio show. He can do whatever he wants to. But he wants to jump in on all of these issues all the time, the gambling and the drag shows, because he has drag shows at his bar, and he wants to defend all of the people painted up as, you know, whatever caricatures of women is what they're doing. Yeah. He wants to defend all of them, and he seems to have all of this goodwill toward the people of Kentucky. But I will repeat, if you, as a person in Kentucky, say that you have goodwill toward them, but you cannot stand between a medical system that desires to mutilate our children, if you cannot stand between them and our children, you don't have the goodwill of Kentucky at heart.
Right.
If you also, he's this big champion for UK sports, and good for him. You know, I mean, he allegedly, then they were able to stir up a crowd of people that attacked a referee that made some calls against Kentucky. Allegedly, I'm not saying, but at least his name's tied to it. Right, allegedly he does all of these things, but whenever Riley Gaines is paired up with Leah Thomas, or whatever his name is, whenever they're paired up together.
Exposed to him.
Yes, exactly.
Literally exposed to him in the state of undress.
Yes. Whenever she has been mistreated around that, then his response is, well, I don't see what the big deal is over a 5th place trophy. This is supposed to be someone who always defends UK sports. Yeah. And he doesn't even have the guts to stand up to, you know, someone who is obviously like a 6'10" man or whatever he is, you know, beating up on Riley Gaines or whatever. And, you know, I understand that he wants to be a liberal in Kentucky, and so he wants to toe the line. He wants to be against Mitch McConnell and write a book about him, and, you know, that sold tons of copies, I'm sure. Then he wants to do all of these things and be this political force, but he never jumps in the waters politically. Yeah. And the reason why is because he is unbearable to listen to, talk to about politics. Yeah. And he's so inconsistent with the way that he does things. Whenever he will not defend her, not even the least little bit, the only thing that he could say is when they were attacking her out in San Francisco, he said, well, they shouldn't have done that. She is standing against a violation of women's sports that he supposedly is a big champion of, that he's supposedly a big supporter of.
Here's the thing about it is that I don't even know what all's going on there, but the problem is that they want to put something out there 250,000 times that it's been viewed, hundreds, probably thousands of comments that people have sent or directed toward me, never picked up the phone and called me. Yeah. Never asked me where I stood, never even read the statement in whole and put it in context of what I put out about it. And that's the way that they work.
And he couldn't even bear to have you come on a show on the, you know, sports gambling thing or whatever. He couldn't even bear to have another position come on and at least state their position. Yeah. And at least have a debate with you. And I know that he went to Duke Law School and all this stuff. He talks about it all the time. Yeah. How educated he is and how smart he is. And I understand all of those things. But when you cannot simply stand up for people who cannot stand up for themselves, do not have the capacity to stand up for themselves in children. When you can't stand up for them, don't claim to be this great political mind whenever your whole life is built around just opposing the party that you don't like.
Yeah. And and again, I hate diving in this, but I just want to point out the hypocrisy. Right. So the little statement, wave 3, make sure they highlight the description at the bottom of this video. They make sure they highlight all of those things. Representative Josh Calloway says that this community is a disease. It's a disease. Rep. Morgan McGarvey, congressman, comes out and says
the manliest man.
Homophobia is a disease, bigotry is a disease, and any politician, this is toward me, any politician who uses their power to vilify Kentuckians for simply living their lives is a dangerous disease on our Commonwealth. Where's the outrage?
Yeah. There's none.
Where's the outrage? And again, I don't care. It is what it is. I expect those types of things. If I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if those things they changed or altered what I did. You have to have your mind made up as to what you're going to do and that you're going to do right. Where's the outrage? I didn't call anybody a disease, not any person. I didn't even write the statement that was put there. I said what I said in the video itself.
Right.
He literally says, calls me a dangerous disease. Where's the outrage? Where are y'all at?
Yeah.
Where are the people saying, oh, we're not going to do this in society. We're not going to say this. This is why people get killed, and this is why. It's such hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And these people, they are weak.
Yeah.
They are leftist.
Yeah.
They are against everything that I'm for the most part. And I'm not changing. And I'm not backing up, even if they want to be hypocritical about it.
Yeah. Well, and the whole irony of it is that you didn't write the description. And you know what I'm saying? They've said all of these things about you're a disease, you're a disease, you're a disease. And you didn't even write the description. And so they have assumed something, which I understand looking at the video why they would think that.
Yeah.
You know, because it says it in the description of the video. But it doesn't say Josh Calloway says, you know, whatever. And you being on the podcast and us being on the podcast, that we're responsible for what the description says.
Yeah.
We're not backing away from that. I wish that it hadn't gone on there, not because I'm, upset that people are offended. It's because it's not what I believe. I don't believe it's a disease. I believe it's a religion.
Yes.
It's the secular religion.
There's no doubt about it.
And they have all the same ceremonies. They have all of their holy days. And this is not just a me opinion. This is not some great thing that I've come up with. This is very well, talked about in conservative circles. But it is their religion. And they have all of these, the Morgan McGarveys, the preachers, the Andy Bashirs, the preachers of the LGBTQ, whatever, and the Randy Weingarten, Peter Pettigrew, Randy Weingarten. Yeah. These are all the preachers of the woke ideology.
Yeah.
And they expect us to just sit by and allow them to do whatever they want to, worship whatever they want to worship.
Yeah.
Make fun of our Jesus, make fun of our God.
Yes.
In vulgar ways. And they want us to just sit by and do nothing. We are not going to take up arms, do any of those things, and fight against them. But we will stand.
Yes. And the thing about it is we are where we are because of the passiveness.
Yeah.
That's why we are where we are. The Kentucky Democrats came out and said, just like everyone else, LGBTQ Kentuckians are, as Andy Bashir of Kentucky says, children of God, not a disease. Our leaders should bring us together, not spew hate. Then they go into this next statement, which literally I didn't understand. Rip Calloway should be removed from his committees, and Daniel Cameron should immediately denounce his endorsement. Evidently, they didn't follow the session. Evidently, they didn't follow the session unless they're referring to the one that I wasn't removed from.
Oh, yeah.
but this is the thing is that they're calling for the playbook that was used on the Republican side to happen. There's so much hypocrisy that is going on here, and I think that this is a way to sum it up. I had this conversation with one of my colleagues one time that doesn't believe what I believe, doesn't stand where I stand, that not a Republican, with a Democrat colleague. And this is what I told them. They were fighting against Senate Bill 150 and fighting for the right for children to be able to have puberty blockers, to be able to have reassignment surgeries, to be able to have all of these things. They were fighting for it hard. I was fighting against that happening. I was trying to push Senate Bill 150 forward to protect children from those things. I'm saying, y'all don't understand. If you let this happen, it's literally going to cause children to die.
Right.
You're going to see children depressed. You're going to see children confused. You're going to see children that are hurt. You're going to see our society is going to change as a whole. They're on the other side saying, you don't understand. If you don't let kids do this, you're going to see kids die, literally. You're going to see them confused. You're going to see them depressed. You're going to see our society totally changed. The gravity of either side being wrong is more than anybody wants to handle.
Right. Yeah.
It's more than I can fathom. It's more than I can handle to even think about.
Right.
Because the truth is, if I'm right, and I am, based on truth, if I'm right, it is going to cost kids their lives.
Yeah.
It is going to cost them their happiness.
Right.
It is going to cost them their innocence, their purity, their mind, their body. It is going to cost them. And on the other side, they're fighting with passion for a cause. The problem is that we can't both be right.
Right. Yeah.
Truth is not relative. And that's why I think it's so important. That is why, Aaron, that this weighs so heavy on me all the time, is because we're literally talking about the minds, hearts, and souls and bodies of children.
Right.
And our whole entire society being rearranged. And we're going to see kids that are going to look back to adults and say, where were you at?
Right.
And we're going to see kids that are going to grow up to be adults with that mindset that is totally going to try to change the society that your kids and your grandkids and my grandkids are going to grow up in.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's almost like
that's heavy.
Both sides are aware that this is damaging kids.
Yeah.
Because the evidence is there, right? They just, instead of diving into the issue of why a child would take their life, surrounded by all the support, surrounded by Pride Month every year, surrounded by support from the president, why they would take their life, instead of diving into that and finding out, then they just push it off and blame it on the Republicans. Push it off, blame it on the Republicans. Call you a hate monger, call it hate speech, call it whatever they have to, in order to absolve themselves from the death of the children.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing they've been doing with abortion for years.
Yeah.
These things are not separate. They're together. Even though they may seem to be separate issues, they both are focused on the lives of children. And we lost our country's conscience about the lives of children and protecting them whenever in 73 we all stood by, I wasn't born, but we all stood by and allowed the Supreme Court to legislate over top of all the states' desires and decisions, to legislate that babies could die in the womb without consequence. Now we are reaping in our children after they are born. We are seeing them be mutilated, seeing them die in front of us. We are reaping the result of our sin now right in front of our faces. And many of us who couldn't do anything about this, we've stood by, and I don't have time to get into, establishment conservatism or any of those things that stood by while all of this happened. I think that a lot of steps have been taken, and that's great. But many of us, it is overwhelming and almost unbearable that 60 million children died unborn.
Yes.
How many more are we going to allow? How much longer are we going to allow the people who orchestrated this mass genocide of American children? How long are we going to allow them to orchestrate the direction of our country?
Yeah.
Where else is it going to lead? It's going to constantly lead to more extermination of human life.
Yes.
They can put a pretty face on it. They can put a rainbow dress on it. They can put makeup on it. They can put on it whatever they want to put on it. At the end of the day, children die again because of their policies.
Yes. And this is the thing. This is a wonderful thing to be able to say. Mm-hmm. First of all, as I said earlier, truth is not relative.
Right.
There's not my truth, your truth, their truth, our truth, and whatever we believe becomes the truth. That doesn't happen. Truth is not relative. Right. This is why we're doing what we're doing. This is why we're trying to get information out to people and inform them of what is going on. This is why that when we're pushed in a corner, we're not going to back up. We're not going to bow down. We're not going to capitulate, because you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Yeah. There's the answer for every confused child. There's the answer for every confused parent, for every individual that's being told by some hack that claims to be a psychiatrist or a doctor that the only option you have is a trans child or a dead child. Mm-hmm. The answer to it all is you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. If you will seek out the truth, you will find the truth. You will live by it. Yeah. You'll find stability.
It's so foundational. It's everywhere, right? The truth is already displayed in the fact of your body, right? You are who you were born as, right? You're not who you feel that you were born as. You are the sex that you were born as. That's a great place to start with the truth. If you follow that truth, then you will be able to see others.
You are who you are, and you are who God made you to be.
And He didn't make you to be, an LGBTQI person.
He makes no mistakes.
That's right. Yeah.
That's the thing, is that if there's a child out there and you're listening, investigating, and you come across what we are saying, God doesn't make any mistakes. Yeah. And God gives you the body that you have. He makes you who you are. Mm-hmm. And when we take what we have been given by Him, we in turn give it back to Him. Right. And we just live by the truth that He has given us. That is where blessing is found. That is where peace is found. That's where happiness is found. And it cannot be found anywhere else. Yeah. Is that not the truth?
That is the truth, yeah. There is no substitute for truth. There is no substitute for reality. It is the human condition, and we know this from Scripture, that you can start in Genesis 3, right? That we have always tried to find a substitute for reality, a substitute for truth. Something that takes us to a place that we think in our mind is going to be great. But at the end of the road, always we come to a place where there's nothing. Yeah. Nothing except death. The death of our body, the death of our relationships. That's where sin always leads to. Yeah. You don't have to live that way, right? You can grab onto what God has promised, right? They talk about us being, bigots or, Christian and whatever you call it, brainwashers and all of these things. But we don't have our children committing suicide because they think they're the opposite gender, right? That's not happening. Yeah. The suicide rates in our community is not what it is in their community. Yeah. They're the ones controlling the information to them. They're controlling everything about them. They protect them from outside forces just like we protect our children. Mm-hmm. They limit their exposure to people that disagree with them. They're doing it to indoctrinate them, right? We're doing it to keep them from something that would indoctrinate them. Yeah. The way that we believe is not the way of bigotry. It's the way of peace.
Yes.
And if everyone were to believe this way, there would be no war.
Well, think about
if
this.
everyone were to believe like them, they can't even stop from hurting themselves. They keep devouring themselves, right? The trans people hate the gay people or non-binary, and they all fight all of the time. If they were to dominate the world, then it would be a constant chaos. If we, true Christians, not the televangelists, not all those, charlatans, but if the true biblical way of living were to dominate the world, there would always be peace, because he says, as much as lieth in you, as if it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men.
Yeah. Well, think about this, and there I had a ton of people that have reached out to me with different thoughts, and some people have said that you're trying to force your religion upon people. You're trying to legislate your beliefs, and you're trying to, and they always use that separation of church and state. We've got to talk about that on a podcast, and let's dive into that sometime in the near future. But they talk about those types of things. But think about this. Just think about the 10 Commandments. Mm-hmm. What if everybody lived? What if everybody lived by "Thou shalt not kill"? What if everybody lived by that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What if everybody lived by "Thou shalt not steal"?
Right.
What if everybody lived by "Thou shalt not bear false witness"? Mm-hmm. And they try to drag you into, you believe the Old Testament, they did this in the Old Testament. We understand what the New Testament is. It makes the Old Testament old, and it's what makes the New Testament new. But what if that was the case? Nobody bore false, nobody told a lie.
Yeah.
What if nobody committed adultery?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What if nobody coveted their neighbor's wife or anything that their neighbor? What if those were the things that happened? What would this society look like?
Right.
And the things that people say that they want, we want peace. We want people to leave each other alone. We want all those things. They're not found in the direction that they're trying to take this society.
That's right.
That's why we keep coming back to foundational truth. Mm-hmm. That's why the Constitution is so important.
Right.
Because the Constitution is foundational.
Yeah.
And when we get back to the foundation, and that's where we build, the structure can stand.
Yeah.
Now, I know that sounds way too common sense,
mm-hmm.
but it's just a fact.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important that we protect those foundational truths and values. And I believe, even though you hear a lot from the other side, and they're a noisy crew, mm-hmm. and I get all that, they're very intolerant to be claiming that they're tolerant. And I think one of the reporters was calling for me to resign. It's time that I'm supposed to resign because this happened. But I'm not resigning. Mm-hmm. I am, the only thing I'm doing is just standing on the truth.
Right.
And I cannot stand. I would fall. I would crumble. Mm-hmm. I would give in. I would back up if I didn't have truth. But because I do, I have that stability.
That's right.
And so, what we're going to do? We're going to keep telling the truth. Right. We're going to keep standing on it even when we're pressured.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep praying.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to keep doing what we can do in our community, in our state, in our country, mm-hmm. to see it move in a direction that God would be pleased with, that people can have happy lives, and that children can be raised protected, not indoctrinated, mm-hmm. pure, and not have their innocence taken from them. We're just going to keep doing those things.
Right.
And I believe that if we will band together, and we will stand on the truth, that we will see blessing again in this nation.
Mm-hmm. And that's probably not something that the other side is interested in. They're not interested in God blessing this country. And they talk about the founders and everything that they wanted. The founders truly believed that the only way that this country would exist is if God helped us.
Yes.
That is true into the future as well.
Yeah.
What our founders believed is still true today. The only way that we are going to exist is if God helps us. We have tried our best as a society as a whole to take something that created the most powerful country that's ever existed on the face of the planet. We have tried our best to take that and destroy it. And there are people who are actively now saying, we want to tear it all down.
Yes.
Burn it down, tear it down. This is their message. This is their gospel. Burn it all down and build it in the way that we want it to. They are incapable of building anything.
Yes.
The people that have built this, then they are willing to tear down the place that freedom has existed the most equitably for everyone ever in the history of mankind. They want to redefine what equity is, redefine what freedom is, redefine what goodness is, redefine everything. Tear it all down, burn it all down. And whenever they've torn it down and burn it down, what are they going to have left?
Yeah.
They're just going to have each other. You cannot survive only looking at yourself.
Yes.
That's not where truth is found. It's not found in what I want, what I see, because truth exists throughout all of time. That requires you to look into the future and not just to want to be a hero, not just to want to be some kind of champion of rainbow justice. None of those things. It is about looking into the future, and instead of fearing for your own life, fearing what people would say about you, instead fear what those who are evil will do to your children and to those that will follow. Yeah. That's the future.
That's exactly right. And we could talk about these things
Obviously,
for hours more, and we're going to go, and we'll be back real soon with another podcast. I'm not going to say who. I'll try to get an announcement out, but I'm working on a guest for the next podcast that we do, and we're going to jump into some things in regard to the ACLU has sued the legislature because of Senate Bill 150, and when you try to read the actual lawsuit that they filed, it is so confusing.
Yeah.
But yet,
On purpose.
it's very enlightening.
Right.
Because when you begin to try to understand what is going on, you see how that this is going to promote so much confusion in our society in the future. Thank you for watching the Josh Calloway podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to get as much information out as we can about what is going on in our state, in our communities, and across the country. If you will like, share, subscribe to this podcast, you can be notified as soon as a new podcast comes out. Tell your friends, tell your family about it. We would love to have more people participating and more people informed about what is taking place. Thank you, and God bless.